The capture of Trônes Wood was an action in the First World War fought by the British Fourth Army and the German Second Army. During the Battle of the Somme, Trônes Wood lay on the northern slope of Montauban Ridge, between Bernafay Wood and Guillemont. The wood dominated the southern approach to Longueval and Trônes Alley, a German communication trench between Bernafay Wood and the northern tip of Trônes Wood to Guillemont. A light railway ran through the centre, which was in a dip formed by the east end of Caterpillar Valley sloping away to the west. The wood was pear-shaped, with a base about 400 yards wide on Montauban Ridge, the rest of the wood running north for about 1,400 yards, coming to a point on a rise towards Longueval village. The wood had dense undergrowth which retarded movement, made it difficult to keep direction, and during the battle the trees were brought down by shell fire, becoming entangled with barbed wire and strewn with German and British dead. The British attacks were part of preliminary operations to reach ground from which to begin the second British general attack of the Battle of the Somme, against the German second position from Longueval to Bazentin-le-Petit on the 14th of July. The German defenders fought according to a policy of unyielding defense and immediate counter-attack to regain lost ground, intended to delay the Anglo-French advance south of the Albert Bapaume Road and give time for reinforcements sent to the Somme front to arrive. Background: on the 1st of July the Anglo-French bombardment on the right flank of the Fourth Army had been highly effective, due to good observation over the German positions, and had achieved tactical surprise. The German 28th Reserve Division had been defeated and only saved from destruction by reinforcements from the 10th Bavarian Division. In the 13th Corps area the success was complete. The troops on the right flank were in touch with the French south of Bernafay Wood. Montauban had been consolidated and observation gained over Caterpillar Valley. 13th Corps was ordered to prepare to attack Mametz Wood with 15th Corps on the left. There was severe congestion in the Maricourt salient, where there were few roads to supply 13th Corps and 20th Corps of the French Sixth Army, which delayed the resumption of the attack, although the road from Maricourt to Montauban was opened by 6 o'clock p.m. Reconnaissance by the Royal Flying Corps reported that the German second line from Guillemont to Bazentin-le-Grand was strongly held. On 1/2 July 2 German counter-attacks in the early hours were repulsed by shrapnel fire from the 30th Divisional Artillery, which also experimented with a thermite barrage on Bernafay Wood. The 27th Brigade of the 9th Division relieved a brigade of the 30th Division near Montauban, and the captured ground was consolidated. On the 2nd of July Haig met Rawlinson and directed that attacks should continue on the right flank, although Rawlinson was concerned over a lack of heavy howitzer ammunition. On the 3rd of July Haig met Joffre and Fogg and announced that he was concentrating British efforts south of the Albert Bapaume Road. Despite Joffre's objections, the Fourth Army would continue the attack between Montauban and Fricourt before attacking the German second position from Longueval to Bazentin-le-Petit. As the reserve army advanced northeast towards Pozières, the attack front was shortened by 5 kilometers, and 13th Corps and 15th Corps were to consolidate the positions, then advance towards Trônes Wood and Mametz Wood. Front-line officers in 13th Corps reported that German resistance was weak and that delay would give the defense time to recover. Congreve, the 13th Corps commander, instructed the 30th Division and 9th Division commanders to capture Trônes Wood before a general attack on the Fourth Army front intended for the 10th of July. A local attack was planned in support of the French for the morning of the 7th of July on high ground at Maltshorn Farm and Hardecourt, which overlooked the south end of Trônes Wood. The attack was postponed after a German counter-attack on the 6th of July recaptured part of Favier's Wood further south, which delayed French preparations by 24 hours. Prelude. British offensive preparations on the 2nd of July. Patrols from the 30th Division found Bernafay Wood undefended and took 17 prisoners from Reserve Infantry Regiment 51, who had retreated there during the morning. At 9:00 p.m. on the 3rd of July, after a short bombardment, 2 battalions of the 27th Brigade advanced on a line from the briqueterie to Montauban and reached the eastern edge by 11:30 p.m. against slight opposition. A few prisoners were taken from A and 3 battalions, Reserve Infantry Regiment 51, which had withdrawn during the bombardment, and 4 field guns left behind the night before by the 6th Battery. Foot Artillery Regiment 57 were captured. A further advance towards Trônes Wood found it occupied, but the 18th Division occupied Caterpillar Wood early on the 3rd of July and Marlborough Wood unopposed. On the 4th of July, Haig stressed the importance of the rapid capture of Trônes Wood and next day arranged with the French for the right boundary of the Fourth Army to be moved south. General Headquarters also announced a ration of 56,000 rounds of 18-pounder field gun ammunition and 4,920 rounds of 6-inch howitzer ammunition per day, plus the use of some French heavy guns loaned to the British. Rawlinson coordinated the attack on the Wood with General Fayol on the 6th of July, but the attack was postponed by a German counterattack. Haig issued a memorandum on policy that advantage must be taken of German confusion and low morale, after the 15 battalions opposite the right flank of the Fourth Army had suffered so many casualties. British plans of attack. After a preliminary bombardment on the 8th of July, 13th Corps was to occupy the south end of Trônes Wood, Maltshorn Trench and capture Maltshorn Farm, as the French 39th Division on the right took the rest of Maltshorn Trench up to Hardecourt Knoll, and from there to Hardecourt. No man's land opposite the British was 1,100–1,500 yards wide and under German observation, but the western approach from Bernafay Wood, held by the 9th Division, was not visible from Longueval. An attack could then be made from the southwest on Maltshorn Farm, out of view of the German second position. On the 9th of July, the 30th Division plan was to attack at 3:00 a.m. after a short bombardment. Next day another attack was mounted after a German counter-attack recovered the wood and recaptured the western edge. On the 11th of July, British troops were withdrawn and a bombardment, said by German witnesses to be the fiercest yet experienced, opened at 2:40 a.m. before the attack. On the 12th of July, the 30th Division reported that it held the wood, but that all 3 brigades were exhausted, so the 55th Brigade of the 18th Division was attached that morning. When the 30th Division reported on the 12th of July that the Germans had again retaken the wood, except for the southern portion, the division was relieved by the 18th Division, which was ordered to take the wood at all costs. 2 battalions of the 54th Brigade were added to the 55th Brigade. The 18th Division battalions were dispersed around the salient. German bombardments on Le Briqueterie, Trônes Wood, Maltshorn Farm and Maricourt had cut telephone communication, and there was no time to arrange visual signaling or reconnaissance. The 55th Brigade commander planned for a battalion to attack from the south and occupy the southern half of the wood. An attack by another battalion from Longueval Alley on the north end of the wood above the railway, while while a 3rd Battalion in Malt's Horn Trench attacked north to take the strongpoint at the southeast end of the wood, with the 4th Battalion carrying stores to forward dumps. The attack was to start at 7 o'clock p.m. after a 2-hour artillery bombardment concentrated on Central Trench and the diggings facing Longueval Trench in the north. 1 battalion was to consolidate the eastern fringe of the wood below the railway line, with machine gun posts every 100 yards, and the other battalion the fringe north of the railway. German defensive preparations. After a counter-attack on the junction of the French 6th Army and the British 4th Army on the night of 1/2 June failed, the 2nd Army organized a new front in the 2nd position, from the Sevilles north to Herbecourt, Maurepas, Guillemont, Longueval and Bazentin-le-Petit Wood. Further counter-attacks were not possible due to a lack of troops, but by the 3rd of July the front from Longueval to Auvillers had been occupied by battalions, taken from 6 divisions. Divisions on the Somme front were reorganized into 3 groups, and air units were reinforced and divided into distant and close reconnaissance, artillery observation, fighting and bombing units. On the 5th of July, the pause in Anglo-French attacks led General von Below to report that the initial crisis had been contained, but that more counter-attacks would not be made until the situation was clear. In anticipation of more Anglo-French attacks, German casualties on the 7th of July from British air-observed artillery fire were high and communications were cut, leaving commanders ignorant of the situation and many German wounded stranded near the front line. 65 heavy artillery batteries were sent to the Somme front from 6 to 13 July along with air reinforcements. Falkenhayn stressed the need to hold the ground from Hardecourt to Trônes Wood, as a base from which to begin an organized counter-attack, but all the attacks contemplated were cancelled on the 13th of July, to be ready to receive the British attack known to be imminent. More groups were organized using Corps headquarters staff to control the increasing number of divisions reaching the Somme front. Group Goslar with the 123rd Division and parts of the 11th and 12th Reserve Divisions, taking over from the Somme to Longueval. Many divisional units had been detached as piecemeal reinforcements and were tired, disorganized and depleted by casualties.